thanks everyone for joining, and great to have everyone on board. On our side, we're here to look at some different answers and topics as to how challenging this year has been for everyone, but not necessarily focused on all the disappointments and disruptions the business world has faced, but also look at ways where British business has adapted. Businesses have been quite proactive to see how we can still serve our customers in the most effective manner as possible, and still really look at ways where we can find opportunity in the land of disappointment and destruction that the world has faced through an unfortunate time. So on our side, we've got Alexei Potamkin. He's the MD at Osome UK, and then we've got Rob Wilson, who's the portfolio manager at AppFund, and then Frankie Mundy from Sparker Legal, also joining us as the senior legal representative over there. So I'll pass it first to Alexei, if you can just give a brief introduction of yourself. And myself, I'm from Osome, partnerships lead at Osome. So Alexei, if you can just give the people an insight into what you do at Osome and what Osome provides as a service.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar on this the time of ease up of the lockdown and many businesses coming back to speed. We thought back to normal. We thought that it would be good to share the lessons learned during the COVID time and see how can the three companies can help you British entrepreneurs to drive your business growth further. A few words about myself. I've started as a management consultant, worked a few years in there, then joined a big multinational mining company, had a few small businesses on the side, like wine boutiques and small shops, consulted a few startups. So I've been on either side of the kind of corporate wall. So I saw how the small businesses done it. I saw how big corporations done it. So that's why I think it would make sense to bring my perspective into the conversation. At the moment, I'm a managing director of Osome UK. At Osome, we are trying to free up entrepreneurs from all the boring routine stuff. So we trying to take all the things that everyone hates doing, and we try to do it in the most efficient way. So at the moment, our key product is accounting and bookkeeping, but then like we are developing different products adjacent to accounting and bookkeeping, with an idea to cover the whole financial back office for small business owners in the UK.
Cool. Thank you for that, Alexei. Frankie, if you could give us a brief introduction of yourself and Sparker Legal too, please.
Sure. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Frankie, and I am a senior legal editor and lawyer at Sparker Legal. And before joining Sparker, I trained and practiced as a corporate litigation solicitor at an international law firm in London. So heavily corporate before moving over to the law tech world. So at Sparker, I'm responsible for maintaining various areas of our guidance and documents, including across our employment law, data protection, and disputes content. Quick intro to Sparker, for those of you who haven't heard of us before. We are an online legal platform for UK businesses, and this was essentially born from the desire to give SMEs practical legal help throughout their business lifecycle, without them needing to resort to quite often expensive traditional legal services. So the way we do this is through providing customizable documents and extensive Q&A guidance, all of which is updated on a daily basis by a team of experienced lawyers, so our customers can be sure they're getting the most up-to-date position. The idea essentially is to help businesses to navigate those day-to-day legal issues that crop up that you wouldn't really want to go to a lawyer for, but that you would like a helping hand with. So we aim to make that help accessible for a reasonable price. So having said that, all of our Q&A guidance is free to look at when you register, and the documents can be purchased either individually or as part of a toolkit, or you can subscribe annually and download as many as you want. We are actually offering a discount to attendees of today's webinar, so stay tuned for details of that later.
Yeah, and then as Frankie mentioned, all the partners here, all the businesses involved, we are going to be offering special offers to all the attendees, and we'll tell you how to access them at the end of the webinar, so stay tuned. And then finally, Rob Wilson from Outfund. If you can give us a quick summary as to yourself and Outfund, please.
Sure, it's great to be here. Thanks everyone for attending. So my name is Rob Wilson. I'm a portfolio manager at Outfund. What we do is we help online businesses to scale their marketing inventory. So we provide them with growth capital, and unlike sort of many other traditional finances, we are able to provide our funding on an unsecured basis with no personal guarantees, and we only take our repayments through a share of online sales. My sort of background has been in equity finance and crowdfunding. I've also had some experience running my own marketing agency as well, so keen, I guess, to share my experience and my sort of clients' experience as well, running and growing their e-commerce businesses.
Cool, lovely. Thanks everyone for sharing an insight into yourselves, your expertise, and the businesses on stage here. So yeah, naturally, I think what we wanted to cover today is to look at different areas where we've all been affected as to our businesses, the challenges that we faced, amongst other things, and most importantly, the opportunity that still is ahead of us, and where we can kind of really deliver value for the audiences and ourselves too, as to a wider discussion as to where there's still positives, a lot of positives to look forward to. So firstly, we can start with how has COVID-19 and Brexit affected our businesses, which is a bit of a double whammy for British business. Not only was it the impact of coronavirus, but also Brexit. So Frankie, if you can share your insight first as to the impact it's had, these instances have had on Sparker Legal.
Yeah, sure. So at Spark, I think the pandemic led to a different focus in terms of the legal content that we actually produced for our customers, because it ultimately changed what they wanted from us as they were forced to adapt and respond to the quickly developing situation. So for example, guidance on and documents on furlough became extremely popular, as this was a completely new area of employment law. You know, the concept of furloughing someone simply didn't exist in UK law prior to the pandemic. And equally, as businesses were forced online, as workplaces closed, content on the legal requirements when staff are working from home also became really popular. So things like the health and safety requirements for employers and what HR policies and data protection policies they needed. We also developed a number of free resources for our customers to help them navigate their way through the pandemic. So all of those furlough leave agreements were provided on a free basis. And we provided free COVID-19 policies and risk assessments to help businesses to understand how to reopen safely when they were and when they will be allowed to reopen again. I think a final significant change for us was in terms of our content marketing strategy. This was adapted to enable us to provide more regular updates to our users. So we provided more frequent newsletters, we provided more frequent news flashes, and just general updates on social media and our blog. You know, the government's response to the pandemic was evolving so rapidly that we wanted to help our users to sort of cut through the noise and just provide them with clear and helpful guidance on the legal developments and also on support available for them.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for sharing that, and great to see, you know, all the different ways Spark has adapted to still keep giving value back to individuals and businesses, which has been key, I suppose, is to really extend our arm to help out businesses in trouble, and also where we can really adapt how we communicate and help businesses. And that's kind of why we're all here, I suppose. Then, yeah, Rob, if you could also share your insight into how Brexit and COVID has affected or how it affected Outfund.
Sure. So I guess a bit of a sort of strange one. So Outfund actually launched in February of last year. So, you know, right before everything, I guess, sort of kicked off and we had lockdown and everything that followed. So, you know, I guess in some respects it was a challenge. I guess we were fortunate that, you know, the space that we operate in, you know, obviously it has seen significant growth. We've seen a lot of new businesses that have been set up, you know, during the pandemic. And I guess in terms of how we support businesses, it is, you know, very sort of good for a lot of businesses compared to other, you know, traditional sort of funding. For example, my sort of background has been in equity finance, and you know, at the start of the pandemic, I sort of saw a lot of my clients struggling to raise equity finance. There's a lot of angel investment, at that sort of early seed stage, that were sort of dropping out. They're focusing on their existing sort of deals, making it, sort of more challenging for businesses to obtain funding. On top of that, you had banks as well that were sort of not sort of moving forward with their sort of planned deals. So yeah, I think it's been definitely an interesting one for us as business for the last sort of year. For our clients, there's obviously been a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities as well to take advantage of lockdown and being able to sort of pivot and with our support being able to really sort of scale over the last sort of 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, definitely an interesting time, I guess, to start a business 1 month before the world goes into lockdown. But yeah, kudos to you guys to helping businesses to still follow their dreams, still kind of trying to scale. And then, a lot of new businesses were formed because of the pandemic. A lot of new use cases were created, and it's important that we still kind of keep helping businesses grow. And then where you guys can, have been helping great on that. Alexei, if you can also share on Osome's end how the last 18 months, I suppose it's been now, has been for Osome.
Yeah, definitely. I remember exactly the day when I started feeling the influence of the pandemic on our business. It was, I think, around 20th of March last year, when one of our biggest clients at that point was about to sign up for our services, and his business was in managing 20 pubs. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Just like after the announcement of the government, he called me and said that what, it looks like that I don't need to do the bookkeeping for any of my business going forward, unfortunately. So, and we started seeing like these cases more and more. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a lot of the clients either went out of the business or significantly decreased operations. What we were trying to do, we were trying to be as flexible as possible, because obviously whenever during the time of crisis you want to help out your customers as much as possible, but then you want to save the team and to still pay the salary to your team, right? Because that's like, and you are balancing between those two things. I think we were like most of the clients who asked us if we can do the extension of on their payment terms, or they couldn't pay for certain number of months. We were letting them doing it, and then in addition to that, we were thinking about, all right, how can we help out not only our customers but also a bigger community of the small business owners out there. And as Frankie said, that the government acted pretty quickly in terms of announcing the funding opportunities for small businesses. But what we've noticed is it wasn't that well written for small business owners, and a lot of the small business owners were struggling to understand what are the requirements, how do I access the funding, where do I go, and like what are the conditions to that. So what we started to do, we started giving free consultation not only to our customers but to like anyone out there who needed the support to access government funding. And we've done quite a few, like quite big portion of the working time of our accountants was dedicated onto those like free pro bono consultation to the community. That on one part. On the other part, on the other hand, obviously one of the things that you are trying to do during the crisis is you are trying to find the customer segment where you can help out the most. And obviously, luckily for Rob, this segment was in the e-commerce space, and we've pivoted quite quickly, and we've developed our value proposition, our products to target those clients, and we saw quite a big growth in the number of the e-commerce clients over the pandemic. So it looks like that a lot of people started their online businesses during that time. I've checked the statistic before, and 2020 was the best year for the new incorporations in the UK compared to all the previous years. So it looks like that there were a lot of the new entrepreneurs stepping into the e-commerce space, and like we were there to help them out to get up to speed and get all the processes set up in place.
Perfect. Sorry, I logged out a little bit, but yeah, I think ultimately it's been, on Osome side, I suppose, and the taxing side of it, bookkeeping, accounting, it's already a complex scenario, and then throw in a pandemic and changing rules. And the government has been helpful, I suppose, as to helping businesses with tax reliefs and renting rates and so on and so forth. But not a lot of people knew how to, I guess, utilize that support mechanism. But yeah, I think thanks to everyone for sharing their insights as to where we've had to adapt, where we had to really think at the end of the day, how do we help businesses at the core of what we're trying to solve is their problems, as to helping them succeed and grow in their individual endeavors. And yeah, it's good to see everyone's been doing their bit to help out, but also the kind of key element of having tenacity and staying persistent as to adapting for the evolving world of business, more so during the pandemic and Brexit. So next, we want to cover raising capital. So how one can kind of go about raising capital, what kind of the criteria are as to a best fit on growing the business. So Rob, if you can share your insights into that, and then on a legal and bookkeeping front, we can also add in as to how businesses can be ready for funding, and especially nowadays, if that's changed more so you believe because of the current climate, what impacts it had on gaining capital. And then we can have a quick discussion on that.
Sure. So I guess just to sort of kick things off, there's obviously different ways of funding an online business. Typically at that early stage, usually it's going to be the founder that has, sort of built up some savings. Perhaps they might go out to family and friends, and they're using this, to initially get things off the ground, cover the initial costs, before they then have, enough traction to be able to, perhaps go out and raise some investment, or they might be in a position where they can actually fund the initial sort of growth through the profits made from sales. At that sort of very early stage, it is traditionally difficult to raise sort of finance, whether it be through debt or through equity. Investors and I guess lenders as well are always going to want to see as much traction as possible, as much sort of proof that there is something in this business. You've been able to prove that there is a product market fit. You have the sufficient margins, and you're able to ultimately deliver the product or service that you have promised. I guess in terms of how Outfund comes into this. We're able to support businesses who have at least 6 months of trading history and are generating at least £10,000 per month in online revenues. And we're then able to provide an initial facility, which is between 1 and 1.5 times the average monthly revenue. And this can be used to either invest in marketing, inventory, or agency fees. So it's a great way to be able to initially get some capital in, and then what we can do is we can actually scale that funding as the company revenues grow, and as their expenses get bigger, we're able to then continue to fund their marketing and their inventory.
Thanks, Rob, for sharing that. So then on a legal front, Frankie, do you think as to what kind of legals, I suppose, one needs to be ready for and prepare alongside coinciding with looking to get funding, looking to protect your brand and so on?
Yeah, so I think whatever route you're thinking of going down to raise capital, there are steps that your business can take to essentially legal proof itself. So this is about anticipating what an investor or a lender will be looking for and making sure your business is as attractive as possible to them. So as you said, things to think about are, have you protected your brand? This will stop copycats and other people from profiting from your hard-won goodwill. And this is really important, as your reputation and goodwill are actually valuable assets in and of themselves and have a real financial value to you. So protecting your IP will ultimately increase your brand's attractiveness to potential investors as well. Secondly, thinking about whether your company records are up to date. All companies have got a range of basic record keeping, disclosure and filing obligations, and you'll risk fines from Companies House if you don't comply. But you'll also make a poor impression on potential investors if your house isn't in order.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to think about is, do you have employments in place? Do you have adequate protection in your employment contracts with key staff? So things like restrictive covenants in there can prevent those key staff from leaving your business and poaching either your clients or your other staff, or generally competing with your business after they leave. And also, do they protect your confidential information adequately if those staff leave? A couple of other things, think about compliance with the UK GDPR. People are really starting to pay attention to how businesses are handling data, and it can be hugely damaging to a business's reputation if they get things wrong. Of course, you can also risk huge fines from the ICO as well. And most businesses probably handle personal data in some respect. So it's really important to make sure you've got proper policies and procedures in place to cover all that. And then finally, another thing to think about is, do you have proper terms and conditions or written contracts in place with your stakeholders, customers, suppliers? Not only do well-drafted documents help you to demonstrate to potential investors that you are conducting your business properly and you're taking the time to make sure things are done properly, but they also help to protect your business if things go wrong, and they also provide protection for your IP and confidential information as well. And I think just it's important to think about all of this well in advance of raising capital, because also a lot of investors may want to receive detailed information from you about these kind of things. They might want to see your brand protection, if you've got registered trademarks. They might want to see your key employment contracts. They might want to have a look at your internal policies. And it can be really time consuming to get all this information together. So it's a really good idea to think about it well in advance, make sure you're not held up by unnecessary delays when you get started. And also it can make a really bad impression if you're not organized.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I guess they say the devil's in the details, more so when it comes to contracts and all the legals, because it's crucial to, as you said, have all that thought of a lot earlier and in advance, because a lot of changes can come, and it's exciting but a scary time, I guess, when you're growing and then you're bringing in a new avenue for growth, but also more pressure as to keep maintaining the energy. But yeah, the legal side for sure is crucial. Now, on a bookkeeping and accounting front, Alexei, where do you think that all fits in, and what are your thoughts on the importance of bookkeeping and accounting in this scenario for raising capital and growing?
Yeah, we are talking about the raising capital, then I guess there are at least two factors where the bookkeeping and accounting, good bookkeeping and accounting basis can contribute. The first one is, like Rob, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think that you will be able to raise anything if you don't have any kind of good accounting and bookkeeping records. So that is something that any like loan provider, any investor will be looking at is your company financials. So that's kind of hygiene factor for you to get ready to raise the capital. The second thing is actually the opportunity to understand how much and at what price you can raise, and then the opportunity to forecast your business financials, right? So you would be surprised how many times we've heard from the loan providers that like businesses come, or not even from loan providers, but from investors, that businesses come to them thinking that their valuation is, say, I don't know, 3 revenues or 4 revenues, and down the line in the process realizing that they've actually calculated revenue incorrectly, and that actually the number is much different from what they thought it is, because and essentially the valuation of the company is different, and essentially the amount of money that you can raise is different, right? So that is one of the problem arising from not careful bookkeeping and accounting, right? So once one of the things that we advise any company to do, even if you are just starting, is to put proper processes and procedures in place around the finances and the bookkeeping. Talk to an accountant, maybe Osome, maybe someone else, but like have in place the good procedures that allow you then down the line to understand exactly how your business is doing and how, like, what is the like financial of your company, and then down the line, what is the valuation of your company. By the way, like having said the comment about the companies who's just starting, for those who are listening to us, if you can go into the pool section and tell us what is the stage of your company, if you are just starting or you're already established company, that will allow us maybe to direct our conversation into topics that are more interesting for you, and also feel free to influence the way of our conversation in the chat. So we are reading questions, and we will be incorporating them into our discussion going forward.
Yeah, just adding to what Alexis said, please do check out the polls section. You can just go there. We've left a few out there. And the questions, we've got some that we had from before, from registrants. So we would love to answer any ones that you guys have got in your mind. And yeah, guys are here to help out, share their information where it can help everyone. So the next part, let's look at, from obviously now looking to the future, which there is some opportunity, maybe a lot of opportunity perhaps for the coming months and years ahead. So if everyone can kind of think about where they envision for their businesses, where there's opportunities, and what kind of lessons can we share with the audience. So if Rob, you can go first on that.
Okay, so opportunities. I think there's always opportunities out there. I guess it's about identifying those opportunities and really making the most of them. I guess just in terms of opportunities that our clients have made the most of. I think particularly with what we've seen over the last year, I think it's become apparent that you can't plan for every eventuality, but it is really important that you put certain processes in place to ensure that you can adapt quickly, and you can seize opportunities. So as an example, lots of our clients, they have been purchasing their stock up front, for example, and negotiating better rates, which is obviously only going to have a massive impact on their margins. Of course, you need that capital up front to do so, but if you do have that cash there, then that can make a massive impact on the profitability. I guess just in terms of stock as well, just being mindful in terms of the quantities that you're ordering as well. Again, if you do have the capital available, then making larger orders, making sure you fill containers. Again, it's all going to help in terms of getting a better rates. Other opportunities, what we've seen as well is our clients making the most of new marketplaces. So not relying on single marketplaces. Amazon is great. You're going to get a lot of organic traffic from it, but you should never rely on just one marketplace or one channel to drive your sales. So making sure that you diversify. We've had lots of clients that have had success on, I guess, more sort of up and coming and niche marketplaces, the likes of Frugo and OnBuy. Definitely worth checking out, worth testing to see how your results sort of vary. And then the other thing as well in terms of marketing is being able to diversify, and again, not relying on one sole channel. So we've seen a lot of our clients starting to test new marketing channels. Ones that they haven't tried before, for example, radio advertising, out of home, particularly out of home. I think it's an interesting one. If you have the data on your customers, where they are based, then it can be a really interesting channel, particularly now as people are starting to go out and about, things are opening up. You should be able to negotiate pretty good rates as well. So again, not relying solely on Facebook or Google, making sure that you have that diversification, so that if something happens on one of their channels, prices go up, whatever it might be, that you're not sort of impacted as much as if you were to diversify across different channels.
Cool. Yeah, very nicely said. I think naturally there's more competition perhaps than ever in one instance, in terms of hopefully a lot of businesses that have suffered, they'll come roaring back, and then naturally a lot of us now looking to also find ways as for the audiences to see how they can evolve into new ways of getting new market share, and looking at growth in a whole different spectrum, because this period has pushed everyone in a situation where everyone's had to be quite reactive as well as proactive, and really think outside the box as much as possible to win market share, which will create an interesting, I suppose, climate for the coming months and years ahead.
Just to add another one, just that's come to mind. One of our fashion brands has done particularly well in this sort of space, is being able to offer and pre-sell products. I think if you have a good relationship with your customer base, and you have sort of strong reviews, trying that as well, because obviously it can be a great way in terms of managing your cash flow if you are able to sell more products up front before they've actually come in. They have particularly found that to be a worthwhile exercise. So again, it's always worth trying these different things out. If it works, great. If not, then at least you know for next time.
Sure. Yeah. Nicely put. I think it's there's a lot of success stories out there too, which is credit to entrepreneurship, which is something been really admirable, I suppose, as to people finding different scenarios, different ways to adapt and launch services where they can grow their business without having a product in this instance, or like pre-selling, so they can get that traction going. Alexei, would you like to also share some of your insight into where you see entrepreneurship heading, or new business and business growth heading, as for the coming months and years? What's changed and what could be interesting for businesses to consider?
Well, I would unknowingly be also, again, getting around the things that we are teaching entrepreneurs to do, right? Yeah. So I've looked at the polls, and it looks like there is a big part of our audience who is in their first year of trading. In the first year of trading, well, in any time you are thinking about the growth of your business, right? In the first year of trading, if you take out something from Osome out of this webinar, I'd like it to be those two things. The first one is, again, make sure that you are putting good bookkeeping and accounting practices, so that you know exactly what products that you are selling are profitable, right? So unless you've done a good attribution of cost of goods sold, a good attribution of your ad spend, you'll not be able to say what products, what SKUs are profitable, and like where should we put in more money. And then the second thing, the faster you grow, the higher chance of the liquidity problems. So in addition to good bookkeeping practices, make sure that you are doing the cash flow forecasts, because the cash flow and liquidity problems is one single biggest cause for businesses going bankrupt. So those are two things that very important to think about and to put in place. And when it comes to the, like Gul mentioned, the times of uncertainty, I think one of the things that you need to come on terms with is that there is always going to be the uncertainty, right? And the entrepreneurs are those people who are dealing with uncertainty the best, and that's like how these people are launching new companies and creating new products and driving the economy. So I think that you guys know already better than we do how to deal with uncertainty, and we can help you out with other things. Yeah,
thanks for sharing that. I think a good point there as to when is there certainty when you're trying to launch a business. It's always obviously good understanding of the market, product, as well as taking that leap of faith in an uncertain world till there's customer adoption. So that's always a tricky one. Frankie, did you have anything else to add as to on the, I suppose, on the legal side, where brand protection, I don't know how competitive or if that's something of a trend where people are trying to get more protection on their brand and in general, as to where you see there could be interesting opportunities or concerns to address for businesses.
Well, I would say that generally, I think if a pandemic teaches us anything, it's that things can and do go wrong. But there are steps you can take to manage your risks, and it's a really good idea to get your legal sorted and take the time now to do that. So ultimately, that will help you to protect your business in the longer term and help it thrive. As I said earlier, getting on the wrong side of the law can be damaging to your reputation, and it can be costly as well. So if you haven't incorporated already, if you're an early stage business, then it's a really good idea to do so, to separate the assets, your personal assets, from those of your business. Again, putting in place robust T&Cs, they contain clauses that essentially protect you if something unforeseeable happens or a disaster happens. Protect your brand, as you say. It's so valuable to you, and if you protect it properly, then you can take legal action against other people who are trying to copy you or infringe on your rights. And I think another really important thing for businesses to think about is really looking after their people. I think your staff are a huge investment and potentially one of the most important assets in driving forward the success of your business in the long term. And there's obviously been quite a few big shake-ups in workforces as a result of the pandemic. But I think it's really a good time to try and consolidate things and make sure your staff are employed under proper contracts, that you've got proper HR policies in place to make sure you're dealing with those staff consistently and fairly. I think a few things have come to light during the pandemic, things like a working from home policy, a flexible working policy. You really need to understand what your staff members' rights are, because again, it can be detrimental to you if you don't treat your staff in the correct way, not least because you could face employment law claims. So yeah, it's just a really good idea to take the time to have a think about these things. And I would also just say generally that businesses just, I think another thing the pandemic has taught us is just be flexible. Just because you've always done things a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that's the way you should do them going forwards. And I think business premises is a good example of this. Just because prior to the pandemic all of your staff worked in the office full time doesn't necessarily mean that you need to haul them all back in as soon as you can. You might actually save your business a huge amount of money if you're able to downsize your office space and perhaps just have a temporary arrangement. It won't work for everyone, but it's just thinking about these things and being open to new ways of working.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Frankie, for sharing that. Definitely some great points there, and I think also the power of people, and kudos to just the willingness for us to also adapt in terms of new ways of work and finding ways to still stay productive, which I guess previous to the pandemic, no one would have assumed that there will be a period this long where people will be working from home. It's never going to work. People shouldn't be working from home and so on and so forth. But I think pandemic has forced us to stay more productive than ever, maybe not. But I think it's been definitely a very interesting situation and experience for many of us. And the new work code in itself, I guess it's changed forever in some way and format. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for sharing your insights. Hopefully it's been of good value to the people attending. For me, it's definitely a great conversation and to be part of it. We will go through some questions that we've had. So we did have some questions previously prior to the webinar as well that we're going to go through. So one of them is, should we see growth by expanding into new countries? So if Rob, you can take that first, and then we can get you guys also to share your perspectives.
Sure. I guess, yeah, simple answer, yes, but I would caveat that with making sure that you are properly set up in the country that you're originally focused on. I wouldn't jump the gun and try to do a land grab and expand into every territory possible. So making sure that you're at a comfortable position in terms of the first territory that you're focused on, and then once you do have the sufficient cash reserves and you have tested the water or you've done your market research, then at that stage then decide to open things up and see how it goes.
Yeah, great points. And then Alexei, if you want to share your thoughts into that as well as for international expansion or looking at foreign markets to grow.
Yeah, I second what Rob said in terms of be sure that you are established in your home country. Then the next point is be sure that you understand how all the regulations works in the country you are about to enter, right? Because there are, like, once you say go from the UK into Germany, there is some VAT play that you need to consider, and like hence consider the pricing that you can afford on your product, hence consider the profitability of your product that you are selling in there. So yeah, once you are sure about your home country, then make sure that you understand all the regulations about the country you're in there, and then make sure what it does, like that again, you are taking care of all the possible charges and fees, because like the things that may work in one way in your home country in England can work a bit differently in the country you're about to enter, and that can affect by the end of the day your profitability and the growth of the business. Overall, I'd say that international expansion used to be one of the most expensive business projects. As of now, nowadays, with the existing tools that we have, and especially in the e-commerce, it seems easier, but I guess it's like it can backfire if you don't think through the whole every step of the process.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Some great points there also. And Frankie, if I guess on a legal front also must pose lots of challenges, or not. If you can share what you think as well, please.
Yeah, I would just reiterate what Alexei has said. Just make sure you know what laws and regulations you need to comply with. It's one thing knowing you're compliant in the UK law, but particularly after Brexit, just because you're complying with UK law doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be complying in Europe or beyond. And you might need to get local legal advice. So it's just, yeah, just make sure you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, sure. Agreed. So we've got a question from Kate Doyle. How soon should you be getting an accountant when setting up a business? I guess that'll go to Alexei.
Sure. I think there are two possible scenarios. If you can afford like £50 a month, then I'd say that get an accountant from the day one, right? Because as I said before, I do believe that proper processes and proper bookkeeping from day one is very important, and it will save you tons of time going forward. But then, to be honest, if you don't want to spend a lot of money like in the beginning, then it's all right to wait for it, and like until you find the product you are selling. If you are talking about the e-commerce, find the product that you are selling, put up the operations process in place, get the first revenue, and then once you understand that this is something that you want to then to create business of, then go and find an accountant, and like good accountant will be able to do the historical work for you. It's a little bit more work, but it will give you more kind of comfort in terms of like how much money you are spending from day one. So I guess, yeah, my answer, as much as I want you to come to Osome from day one, I would say that make sure that this is the business you want to grow, and then whenever you feel comfortable, come to us, and yeah, we'll sort it out.
Cool, fair enough. No sales pitch there, but I think ultimately it's important to have that. I think Hugo's raised a great point as to what a modern day accountant is and a bookkeeping provider is. Ultimately, not just for Osome, but other modern bookkeepers and accountants are more so a key integral part of how you manage your business, assist with cash flow forecasting and other areas in terms of information that they can provide, more so than just doing the basic bookkeeping element, which is something that we are also keen to help with.
Yeah, I guess it's also for me, right? Yeah, one comment. I completely agree. I think that there are two parts of the accounting industry that will be hugely transformed going forward, and I think Osome is on the front of this transformation. I think going forward, we're going to see what do we call compliance accounting, where accountants are just taking care of the filing with HMRC, company's house, corporation statements, and like simple management accounts, and then the advisory type of accounting, where, as Hugo wrote, like the accountant will be partner in the business and helping the businesses to grow. At Osome, we have more and more clients requesting this type of services, and especially for the e-commerce, for example, we have an add-on in our packages where we can work with business owners and look at in the like product that they are selling and marketplaces that they're selling, and come up with tracking for profitability for different products, different SKUs they are selling in different marketplaces. Hence, like providing the business owners with actionable numbers to work on to make the business decision. So that's, I completely agree. That's definitely what accountants should be doing. I think going forward, more and more businesses will be requesting this type of services.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. And then we've got from Anna, I think. Can startups take advantage of the IP Enabler Grant? Are you aware of that, Rob? In regards to that grant, IP Enabler Grant, as I can
say I've heard of it, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe Anna, if you can let us know where you found that, and we can then come back to you on that. Another question was, what are the common mistakes to avoid when building a forecast for your projections when getting ready for raising capital or getting in that situation? What are the common mistakes you think, Rob, are there to avoid?
I guess that the key thing is just making sure that you have planned for different outcomes, you know, best case, worst case, and I guess somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. I think other than that, you know, as long as you're basing it off, you know, realistic numbers, then you can't go too sort of wrong. I think making sure that you assess where you're at as well. So, you know, either on a monthly or a quarterly basis. But, you know, fundamentally, if you have it, then that's, you know, a good sort of first step. I think it makes such a difference. You know, the clients that we work with, the ones that do have those plans in place. Yes, things are always going to, you know, turn out maybe differently than you expected, but having a plan is always the first sort of step to that, making sure that you have planned for eventualities and you can take advantage of opportunities when they come up.
Sure. And then Alexei, Frankie, did you also have any comments in regards to that? That's for forecasting for fail-proofing, I suppose.
I guess one of the main mistakes that we see, if we are talking again about the businesses in their first year of trading, not taking into account the payment terms, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, when you are selling goods on Amazon, Amazon doesn't send you the money the day the goods were sold, right? But only send the money in like 2 weeks in, and only like half of the money and half of the money will be held in the bond. Hence, like when you are calculating your sales projections and not taking into account the sales stores of Amazon, the fact that you will be receiving money 2 weeks down the line, you will have this like gap in liquidity of 2 weeks. If you don't take into account, then it may be the situation where your plan is perfect and beautiful and nice and business is growing, but then you find yourself in the situation where you don't have money to pay your suppliers. And these are the things that you want to avoid. So be careful with the payment terms, both to your suppliers and from the sales channels that you are using.
Yeah, makes sense. And then for Frankie, somebody's messaged us before. In regards to contracts and IP protection when using freelancers, what's the best practice when working with freelancers and contractors to get brand protection for the business?
Yeah, so unlike your employees who, if they generate IP during the course of working for you, you will generally automatically own that IP as their employer. Mm-hmm. It's different for freelancers or contractors. They will typically own any IP that they create while they're working for you, but you can agree otherwise in your contract with them, which again stresses the importance of putting in place a really solid contract whereby they agree to transfer that IP to you. Sparker does have templates that people can use if they want help with that contain those clauses.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that. I think we've got a question from Kavar's side. Can we move business working capital from one form to another if the credit facility you have is no longer available moving forward as companies closing down? Who wants to take that? The message sent by Kavar.
I personally never saw this situation. Rob, I don't know, do you think that Outfund will be able to move the facility from one company to another that easy?
So I guess for us, we provide our funding, specifically to each individual business. Unless it's structured as a group, then we will be able, or the client will be able to move things around. I guess just to be clear in terms of our funding, how clients can access it, we provide each client with a digital card, which can be used purely for marketing spend. So these cards are just authorized to be spent on all the major advertising platforms. And we also allow our clients to upload invoices for any growth-related activities, which we then pay off on the client's behalf. So we never actually send the funds directly to the client's account, so they aren't actually able to manage that money themselves. It's all centralized within their Outfund account, and they're able to spend it through that.
Yeah, makes sense. And then I suppose, yeah, just the conscious of time, we can go through a few other questions in the meantime. But the answer to Kay's question, yes, we do offer free consultation. I suppose as for just wrapping things up in regards to key takeaways, you guys think, as for the attendees, what would be the key takeaways when it comes to managing their business in the uncertain times that we're in? Where, as we discussed earlier, that for any business, the world is always an uncertain place, and 1 week to 1 month to 1 year is hard to predict. So what would be the key takeaways that you guys can summarize with? Frankie, if you can go first.
Firstly, I would say listen to your customers. I think that's something that Sparker learned as well through the pandemic. There's no point us producing really great legal content on areas of law that we find really interesting if that's not what our customers want. So, that's why we produce the content on furlough and businesses pivoting to online businesses to help them through the pandemic. So I think it's really important to make sure you're offering something people actually want. And again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, manage your risk. Just take the time to legal proof your business and do some of the steps that I've talked about today. It really will help you survive in the long term.
Sure. And then Frankie, were there any special offers that you wanted to share with the audience?
Yes, so we're offering attendees of today's webinar 30% discount on our subscriptions and our documents. I think the link will be sent in the chat. And if you have any questions, just contact us at info@sparker.com. Yeah,
we'll be mailing everyone out as to the way to access the discounts and who to get in touch with for everyone. Rob, if you can go next as to quick summary and any special offers, free funding, maybe longer terms, whatever you may have planned.
Sure. I guess my key takeaway would be, cash is king at the end of the day, making sure that you have, sufficient runway, you have that emergency sort of pot. And I guess the importance of diversification as well. So not, relying too heavily on a single marketplace or a single customer. Mm-hmm. With regards to sort of Outfund, so we're able to offer free funding of up to £10,000 for facilities of £50,000 or more, which are taken out with ourselves. So I believe there's going to be a link where you can request a call with one of our representatives, and they'll be able to tell you more about Outfund and see how we can support your growth.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Rob. And then Alexei, if you can share your thoughts too.
Sure. I think we've done extensive kind of conversation about the business side of things, but I wanted to close this webinar with directing your attention to yourself. I'd like to our entrepreneurs to take care of themselves more, because we see a lot of the burned out entrepreneurs, and we'd like you guys, like you the entrepreneurs again, like are the backbone of our economy and employ the most of people in the Great Britain. So try to take care of yourself, and find the good providers to take care of other stuff like legal or bookkeeping or funding. Where it comes to our offers, especially for High Doyle, we are happy to provide the free consultation. I can't promise like 1 hour consultation, but if it's something that can last in 10 to 15 minutes, that obviously like our accountant will be happy to help you out and will not charge you for that. For those who will need more extensive support, we are happy to give you 1 month of our services for free. So no strings attached. You just like sign up for Osome. You have access to our accountants and bookkeepers with unlimited consultation, in-app chat, and daily bookkeeping provided for your Amazon and Shopify store. And at the end of the month, it's up to you. If you want to stay, we'll be happy to transfer you to paid package. If you want to leave, then I don't know what we've done wrong. Didn't see a lot of those happening, and hope to see you in the members of Osome customers.
Cool. Thanks everyone for summarizing. And I think key one is in regards to the pandemic has been a lot of people working longer than they choose to, because the work-life balance has changed, where the office has become the home. So the entrepreneurs are the backbone of the for business in general, as in the biggest coalition of businesses in the UK, and I suppose many countries are SMBs. So thanks everyone for working hard and helping out the economy, helping everyone out, because it all makes a difference in the long run for everyone. And wishing everyone a great year ahead, lots of successes to come, hopefully, and hopefully on a health front and the pandemic, fingers crossed, that's something that improves also. And then we'd love to see you guys one day in the future also, and meet in person. Thank you everyone for joining, and wishing a great week.